With another fun weekend of Carolina Fear Fest in the books, we're going to do a recap of this weekend right now. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today I'm going to recap Carolina Fear Fest. I spent all day Saturday and all day Sunday at the 2023 Carolina Fear Fest with my good friend Dale_A from the Bat and Spider podcast. Do me a favor, go over to Spotify and go over to Apple Podcast and subscribe to their podcast. Dale and Chuck do a great job over there, and they release one review episode a week every Thursday, and those guys are awesome. So yeah, if you're interested, go over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and check them out. Now, this year's convention was great. Had a great time as usual. Lots of cool vendors, lots of cool celebrities, lots of cool panels that me and Dale got to sit in on, and got to chat with a bunch of cool people. Some we've met before, some we haven't. And I'm going to go through the list of some vendors later on in this video. Just the vendors I spoke to, some of them I spoke to in the past. There was a lot of great vendors there. They're all awesome. I'm just going to highlight the ones that I had interactions with. And yeah, we'll go from there. But I wanted to mention the official artist of this year's Carolina Fear Fest, Wes Flannery. He was the official artist of this year. He did the cover art for the programs and all that. And this was the artwork, the official artwork for this year. And it's gorgeous, and I bought this canvas painting, and I can't wait to get a frame for it. I'm going to link his website and his Instagram down below. I was on his website this morning. He has a great artwork and at a really reasonable price. The guy does outstanding work, so check him out and show him some love if you're a horror fan. I'm going to go through some podcasts. There was some podcasters there. We got to chat with them. Some we've chatted with before. There was one I haven't. I'm going to give them a shout out. Arcane Carolinas has a podcast you can get wherever you get your podcast. And Charlie was there, really nice guy. They do a lot of paranormal creatures, like almost mythical creatures, UFO kind of stuff. That's their podcast. Charlie's a really nice guy. Charlie and Michael do that podcast. Michael was not there, but Charlie was. And Charlie actually got to moderate the David Naughton panel yesterday. He did a great job. He got called in last minute with under an hour to go before the panel. I thought he did a really nice job, and me and Dale got to speak with him for a while. Really nice guy. I'll link their Instagram below and their website below for Arcane Carolinas. Check out their podcast. Really nice guys. Really interesting podcast. Check them out. The other podcast I want to give a shout out to is The Scene Snobs. Mick Manhattan runs that podcast. He was the main MC, as he was last year for Carolina Fear Fest. Really nice guy. He uploads a ton of content on his podcast and on YouTube, so check him out as well. Really nice guy. We got to chat with Mick for a while. And yeah, really nice guy. Check him out. And I got to give my buddy Phil a shout out at the Spook House podcast. He was there, but he was also selling VHS tapes. He has t-shirts and stickers available. Check him out. I'll link his Instagram down below. Send Phil a message, say hi. Great guy. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel. Check him out both. Him and Doug host that podcast, and they're really nice guys. So yeah, check out Phil at the Spook House podcast and tell him I sent you over there and show him some love. We're going to go on to a small indie horror production company. I got to meet he's an actor and a producer, and really nice guy, Michael from Slasher 15 Productions. He was there. They have a new movie coming out in June called Go Away, but I got to talk to him for a while. Very nice gentleman. I got to talk to him twice. I actually bought a Blu-ray of their slasher film that came out a few years ago called Bloody Summer Camp with Felissa Rose and Dave Sheridan, and I'm going to check that out. I bought the Blu-ray off him. He couldn't have been a nicer gentleman. He's like I said, he's also an actor. He acts in these films, but he's also a producer. The director was there as well. I didn't get to meet him. His name is Dave Kerr. He directed Bloody Summer Camp. He wrote and directed that, and he also wrote and directed Go Away. And Go Away is a pretty badass cast. It's Tom Matthews is in it. Felissa Rose is in it. Tuesday Knight is in it from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Robert Mukes is in it. He played Rufus in House of a Thousand Corpses. He was in Westworld and a bunch of other stuff. He was actually at the convention as well. But I can't say that Michael was a great guy, nice guy. Like I said, we chatted for a while, just geeking out and talking about different movies, and he was giving me a little insight into the indie production, horror production scene. Really nice guy. They're actually having their premiere of Go Away on June 23rd at the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester, Virginia. If you're in that area, it's going to be at 9 p.m. I think it's almost sold out, but don't quote me on that. Reach out to them, see if there's any tickets available if you're in that area, and go check out the movie. Really nice guy. I'm going to check out Bloody Summer Camp. I bought the Blu-ray. But yeah, give some love to them. Follow them on Instagram at Slasher15 Productions or yeah, just say Brian sent you. Really nice guy. Enjoyed talking with him, and yeah, I wish them all the best, and I hope to run into him again some other time. All right, folks, we're on to the celebrities that were there, and some of the panels we saw, some of the folks we met, or inanimate objects that I got to meet, which I was so thrilled about. They had a lot of cool celebrities. Barbara Crampton was there. Dee Wallace was there. Dana DeLorenzo from Ash vs. Evil Dead was there. So was Ray Santiago, who played Pablo. Robert Mukes was there. He was huge, man. He walked by me. I barely come up to his shoulder. That's how tall this guy is. Huge dude, but super nice dude. Tara Reid was there. David Naughton was there. Derek Mears was there, who played Jason in the Friday 13th, 2009. He was in Predators and a bunch of other stuff. He was Swamp Thing. I might be forgetting some, but there was a lot of cool celebrities there. And we got to sit in a panel. The first panel we got to see was Ian McCulloch, a Scottish actor. He was in Zombie, Lucio Fulci's Zombie in 1979. He was also in Hammer House of Horror and The Ghoul. He was on a TV show in Britain called Survivor, which I'm not familiar with, but his panel was very interesting. He was the first panel we got to see. He had a lot of little, things to say about Zombie, especially that he didn't, a lot of actors say this because you never know what a film's going to do. But even so, we had no idea back then when we made this film that 40 years later we'd still be talking about it. And he was cool about it. He went over, he was more than forthright about his opinions on some of the things he's done, for better or worse. But yeah, he seemed like a nice gentleman, and yeah, he was there and he was cool. They had a House of a Thousand Corpses panel with Robert Mukes. We got to check that panel out. He was really nice. A big, hulking dude. Used to play basketball. He almost got into pro wrestling before he got into acting. He played Rufus on House of a Thousand Corpses. He was in Westworld. He's going to be in that movie Go Away that I talked about from Slasher 15 Productions. A bunch of other stuff. Really nice guy. He had a lot to say about working on House of a Thousand Corpses, how happy he was. He's shooting a movie on Universal Studios backlot. And, with this musician turned director and this great cast of characters with Bill Moseley and Tom Towles and Karen Black, and it was a really informative panel, and he seemed like a really nice guy. He was having a blast there. He was just walking around with a big smile on his face and talking to everybody, and really nice dude. And we got to see a panel with David Naughton yesterday. It was an American Werewolf in London panel. Really nice gentleman. Gave tons of stories about the production of American Werewolf in London. Some I knew because I know a lot about that movie because all the documentaries, interviews with Landis, but some I didn't know, and he gave some information that I didn't know, but very informative panel. He actually went over his time. He was only supposed to be there for 30 minutes. I think it went like 40, 45. And Charlie from the Arcane Carolinas podcast actually emceed that one, and he did a great job. I had to go up to him and tell him how good of a job I thought he did. But David Naughton was more than forthright about everything. He talked about being in the wolf cage. He told Landis, "I'll give you one take," because he felt uncomfortable being in there. Because they're wild animals at the end of the day. Yes, they're being capped and they get fed, but they're still wild animals. So he was a little uncomfortable. He goes, "Look, I'll give you one take. Let's get this done because I can't do it again." And they got it in one take and they moved on. But towards the end of his panel, because it was mostly about American Werewolf in London, naturally. Although when I met him, I'll tell you what I got to ask him. But he talked about a movie I had never seen called Brutal Massacre. It's a comedy about, he plays a horror director, and it talks about this production of his new movie and all the things that went wrong. It's kind of like shot documentary style, kind of. And I started watching it this morning. I got to finish it tonight, but I'm glad he mentioned it. I never heard of it. It's directed by a filmmaker I'm aware of, Steve Mena, I think is how you say his name. He did the Malevolence trilogy, which I've seen. I own those movies, and I think I like those movies. I never heard of this one until David Naughton gave it a shout out. And he said he's really proud of it. He likes that movie, and it's on Tubi, so if you want to watch Brutal Massacre, it is on Tubi for free. You can check it out, and I'm enjoying it. I'm about halfway through. I got to watch the rest of it tonight, but yeah, that was cool as well. And then we got to see an Ash vs. Evil Dead panel with Ray Santiago and Dana DeLorenzo. And my God, they must be good friends in real life. I don't know that, they didn't say, but they, just like the chemistry on the show, they had that during this panel. They seemed like really good friends and they enjoy each other's company. And Dana DeLorenzo, man, she is just a firecracker. She's awesome. She's happy and bubbly and more than willing to tell you anything you want to know. And she was like, she lit up like the 4th of July. She was awesome. And so was Ray Santiago. He was very honest. He said, "Look, I wasn't super familiar with the Evil Dead franchise before I got this role." And he goes, I know I'm not supposed to say that because I'm at a horror convention. He goes, "It's true." So I liked his honesty on that because as actors, we know, you have to know deep down, some of these folks aren't horror fans or might not be familiar with the franchise they just got involved with. They're not like we are, where we love these movies, we've seen them many times. And I was glad that he was honest about that. It was cool. It was a cool moment for him to admit that. But they had a great panel, and they would love to do it again. They said they had a blast working with Bruce and Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi, and shooting down in New Zealand. It was beautiful, and it was a really good panel. And those were the panels we got to see. Now, I'll say I met two celebrities. I got to meet David Naughton, and I got him to sign my 4K Arrow American Werewolf in London set. And I got to chat with him for a little bit. I would have been able to chat. He would have chatted with me forever, honestly. I asked him about working, because I knew everybody was going to ask him about American Werewolf in London. That's obvious. But I wanted to ask him about working with John Carpenter on Body Bags, since he's in the gas station segment. And I got to ask him about that, and he basically told me, he goes, look, I loved working with John. But he said the funny thing was, we were shooting out in the middle of nowhere outside of Los Angeles at this gas station, at a real gas station. And when it came for me to have my fight scene with John Carradine, there was no stunt coordinator. So me and John had to block out our fight on our... John told us to go work it out, and he filmed it, and that's what's in the show. He goes, it was odd that there was nobody there, but he goes, John Carpenter's telling you to go block it out, so you go do it. And that's what we did. He said, but he really enjoyed working on that little segment. And he said there was a lot of people in that segment that he's friends with, but when he shot his scenes, they weren't there. So it wasn't until years later that he realized he was in that movie with other folks that he knew. He just wasn't on the set the same day. And yeah, he was very nice. I got my photo taken with him. Again, I'll be posting photos right here as this video goes on. I'm probably a little late on that, but you'll see my photo with David Naughton and one from the panel and all that. But yeah, really nice guy. Couldn't have been nicer. Now, Dale got to meet Barbara Crampton, and she talked to him for at least 10 minutes. She was sweet. She was nice. I stood off to the side. She was really, really nice. And Dale really wanted to meet her, and he got to meet her. Got a picture with her, and I'll post that here as well. Now, before we get into vendors, I got to meet one more celebrity, at least in my mind, because I absolutely love this film. I just rewatched it last week on 4K. I got to meet Christine, the car. I'll link their Instagram page down below. They haven't uploaded a photo in a while, but this gentleman's from Pensacola, Florida, brought the car up, had a ton of memorabilia from the movie. He had almost every version that was ever released of Stephen King's novel, Christine, and really nice guy. He let me take a bunch of pictures, which I'll post here. And I got to get this with my photo package. It's a picture of Christine and a tire track, and it was cool. And they had you'll see in the picture, they had like a cardboard cutout of Robert Blossom's character handing me the keys. And it was really cool to see Christine and get a photo taken with it. You couldn't sit in the car, but he would turn the headlights on, as you'll see in the photos here. And it was a really nice guy. It was cool to see the car in all of its glory, because I love that movie. But now we're going to move on to the vendors here. And the first one up is Orbit DVD. It was their first time there. They're out of Asheville, North Carolina. Really nice folks. Want to give them a shout out. I'll link their website down below or their Instagram page. They're reasonably priced too. Very reasonably priced considering they're a smaller vendor. I bought the Henry Portrait of Serial Killer 4K from Arrow Video. They had it there at a reasonable price, and I wanted to pick this up for a while, so I bought this. Really nice folks. Now, all the vendors I'm going to link down below, either to their website or their Instagram page, so you can seek them out if you're interested. I'm going to give a couple shout outs to some more folks that were there that we've met before, but really nice people that have really cool stuff to buy. First up, Lunch Meat VHS. Him and Phil from the Spook House podcast had a booth together like they usually do. They've been going for several years now. And he has all things VHS. He has shirts, he has VHS for sale, he has VHS machines, cleaning kits. Check him out on Instagram. He's always somewhere selling his wares. Really nice guy. And he's passionate about VHS. And yeah, really nice dude. Check him out. Also, Toxic Coffins. I talked about them last year. Those guys are great. They saw, I had a Fright Night 2 shirt on, and they saw me, and we've talked before, but they saw the shirt, like, Fright Night 2, yeah. So me and Dylan end up going over and talking about Fright Night 2 for a while. Usually when we see those guys, we end up geeking out over Fright Night 2 because they're big fans. And I told them that Fright Night 2 is actually on YouTube for free. You can watch it. And those guys make great shirts. You can check them out. I'm going to link them down below as well. Also, I'm going to say again, Phil from the Spookhouse podcast, him and Lunch Meat VHS had a booth together, and Phil was selling VHS. He has shirts for sale, merchandise, stickers. So check him out. Go over his Instagram page, go to his website, check him out and what he's got for sale. Though now there was a ton of other vendors. I'm going to give a shout out to Doodles of the Dead. He does a lot of stuff. He makes a lot of art from George Romero's work, although he did have something that he created from John Carpenter's The Thing that was pretty cool. You can check him out on Instagram. I'll link him down below. Many other cool vendors. Those are just the ones that we talked to and we interacted with on some level. But it was a great weekend filled with just all things horror. There was a lot of good, cool cosplay people walking around. A guy dressed as Ghostface with me. He had a phone. It was great. I'll post that picture here. There was a guy in a werewolf costume. Was badass. I'll post that here. You'll see that going by. And there's always a Jason walking around, a Michael Myers. I got some photos with them or of them. It was a fun weekend. I always look forward to Carolina Fear Fest. It's always Memorial Day weekend, and it's a fun weekend. It's just a day to celebrate, a couple days to celebrate all things horror. And I had a hell of a good time this year. Back at Carolina Fear Fest next year. They do a wonderful job. It was a fun time had by all. So yeah, it was a great weekend. That's it for this video. I hope you're all doing well out there. I hope you're all having a great Memorial Day weekend as we memorialize the fallen. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.